President Donald Trump's recent executive orders are aimed at combating drug cartels and illegal trade. So, what's needed to counter transnational criminal organizations? I'm Veronica Dudo. Let's find out.
This is In America Today from the Ticker News Studios in New York City.
The global illicit economy is fueling a dangerous cycle of crime, corruption, and cartel power, especially in fentanyl trade. Experts warn that transnational criminal organizations are exploiting financial loopholes, shell companies, and even free trade zones to launder dirty money and expand their reach. Former officials and analysts are now calling for stronger enforcement measures, including trade-based money laundering strategies and anti-corruption laws. For more, let's bring in David Luna, the Executive Director of the International Coalition Against Illicit Economies. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Veronica. Good to be with you.
So let's begin with President Trump's recent tariffs on Mexico and Canada that he introduced. Could these measures impact the flow of fentanyl or criminal money laundering networks?
Absolutely. I think President Trump's executive orders, not only related to the tariffs, but also designating some of the criminal organizations as terrorist organizations, are really very important to elevate in a more robust manner the fight against the Mexican cartels, against transnational criminal organizations, and the illicit finance syndicates that are behind really the growing legal fentanyl trade, but also globally the illicit economy. So I think these are very important authorities, very important initiatives. And it is important that the U.S. government take a more coordinated approach to disrupt and dismantle these dangerous cartels.
Do we happen to know potentially how much money is in these dirty illegal economies?
Yes, certainly as it relates to the illegal fentanyl trade, just based on reporting by DEA, by congressional testimonies, it's safe to assume that it's in the billions of dollars every year. I mean, coupled with other illicit drugs, trafficking like cocaine, heroin, and other contraband. It takes it up more to tens of billions of dollars, which feeds into the global illicit economy, which, as we all know, is really a multi-trillion-dollar enterprise. So these are very profitable illicit ventures. The cartels and other criminal organizations are really undertaking every day across the U.S. and across other countries.
What additional steps should the United States take to dismantle cartel financing and disrupt the global illicit economy?
So it's great to see that the United States, again, is taking a very coordinated approach, integrating not only law enforcement, but intelligence capabilities, bringing in the Defense Department, and again, taking the more comprehensive approach. As it relates to the illicit finance, it is important to stop, the dirty flows that are being emanated from the illegal fentanyl trade and other criminalities. I think areas like targeting anonymous shell companies is important to understand beneficial ownership. Who are the owners behind some of these companies that really enable the cartels to not only launder the proceeds, often working with Chinese money laundering organizations, but to refinance and reinvest in legitimate economies across sectors, be they real estate, banking, casinos, and then more diversified into sectors like the mining industry. And we all know there's a greater interest on critical minerals across the world. So it is obviously a threat multiplier as these cartels and transnational criminal organizations reinvest in the legitimate economy and critical industries.
How do transnational criminal organizations exploit financial systems to launder money, and what loopholes allow them to operate?
So the corruptive influence, the corruptive power of these cartels and transnational criminal organizations do enable them to penetrate not only governance institutions, but markets alike and the global financial system. And it is said corrupt enabling environment that enables the cartels to really launder the proceeds. And again, I think it is important not only for the banking sector. If we look, for example, at TD Bank in Canada, where earlier the U.S. government investigated how TD Bank was laundering proceeds for the Mexican cartels and other criminal organizations. It is important to be working with these sectors so that they can halt the illicit finance of various criminalities, but also other sectors as well, to join through public-private partnerships to leverage their capabilities, their resources, their intelligence. Again, working with not only the Department of Justice, but the U.S. Treasury Department to identify and pinpoint some of these nodes, some of these synapses that enable the laundering of these proceeds. And overseas, the corruption nodes that help them to expand their illicit enterprises, not only across the Americas, but more globally.
Now, you have spent your career dealing with these issues. Of course, in the United States, we know that hundreds of thousands of Americans have died from fentanyl. We do know that human trafficking is an issue, also including of minors. What are your thoughts on the Trump administration really making this a priority? Is this something that you think has been needed? And maybe why have we not heard more about it in past years?
So too many Americans have died related to the illicit fentanyl trafficking. I think it's over a couple hundred thousands, not only in the United States, but in Canada and increasingly in other countries. While there has been a really good effort by the U.S. and other countries, the issue has only gotten worse, not only as it relates to the fentanyl trade, but also as it's connected to other criminalities. And again, more globally, the global illicit economy constitutes between $3 to $5 trillion. That's a staggering amount every year, in which, again, the proceeds derived from the illegal fentanyl trade help to finance other criminalities and corruption, as this was mentioned earlier. But it's not only building or expanding these illicit economies, it helps to finance strategic goals, for example, of the CCP in China, to use strategic corruption and criminalities to garner even greater influence in places like Latin America. So it is important to understand that threat convergence, the linkages between the harms that are being done by transnational criminal organizations like the cartels and their links to antagonistic government authorities in places like China.
And with about a minute left, how does China's Belt and Road Initiative factor into strategic corruption and illicit financial networks?
Yes, the China's Belt and Road Initiative, on its on many fronts, it's an economic development initiative, but it has been leveraged by China as a strategic corruption to influence governments to help China build not only their infrastructure, but to be able to control strategic hubs like ports and free trade zones. In fact, in the Americas, China and its enablers, like criminal organizations, control over 40 ports in a lot of countries in the Americas. So China, again, is the leading player, market player of 11 of the 12 biggest transnational criminal sectors. So it helps to not only further fuel corruption that adversely impacts our own national interests in the United States, but helps to finance China's bigger great power competition uh, objectives to achieve their dominance strategies, including for 2049, which they aim to be the world's most dominant power.
David Luna, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Veronica.
This is Ticker. We'll be right back.